Be me, 29, software developer, living in Austin for about 8 months now. Decent job, decent apartment, gym 4 times a week. On paper, I'm doing fine. In reality, I haven't had a second date since I moved here, and I'm starting to think something's fundamentally broken with me. I'm visiting my sister Rachel in Portland for the weekend. Big mistake. She's having brunch with her friend group, and they're all talking about unlearning toxic patterns. I'm just trying to eat my lunch in peace when Rachel brings up my dating life. Jake's been struggling with dating, she announces to the table, like it's a group project. Thanks, sis. Her friend Becca lights up. Oh my god, you need to see my therapist, Dr. Melissa Harper. She literally transformed how I approach relationships. She specializes in masculine healing and conscious dating. I must make a face because Becca gets more insistent. No, seriously. She has like 180,000 followers. She does this whole thing about how men have been conditioned to perform masculinity instead of being authentic. It's revolutionary. Rachel's nodding enthusiastically. I follow her. Her content's amazing. I'm skeptical as hell, but here's the thing. I've been on maybe 15 first dates since moving to Austin. Every single one ends the same way. Pleasant conversation, polite laughter. We should do this again, then either ghosting or the I didn't feel a spark text. I'm doing everything right according to every article I've ever read. Being respectful, asking questions, not being pushy, splitting the check, following up the next day. Nothing works. Becca's already pulling up Dr. Harper's Instagram on her phone. The feed is all quotes like, "True masculinity is vulnerability," and "Emotionally available men are the revolution," plus a photo of her white office full of plants and feminist art. She's a licensed therapist, Becca says. Columbia educated. She really gets male psychology. I tell myself it can't hurt. Clearly what I'm doing isn't working. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting in that exact office I saw on Instagram. Melissa Harper is younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s, dressed professionally, but with this very intentional casual vibe. Expensive minimalist jewelry. "So, Jake," she says after the initial pleasantries, "tell me what brings you in." I explain the pattern. Dates that seem fine, then nothing. I'm starting to feel like I'm missing some basic thing that everyone else understands. She's nodding, taking notes on her iPad. 20 minutes in, she looks up with this expression like she's figured me out completely. "I'm hearing a lot of performance in how you describe these dates," she says. "You're doing what you think you're supposed to do, asking the right questions, saying the right things, but that's not authentic connection. That's a job interview. I mean, okay. That actually lands a little. Here's what I'm noticing," she continues. "You're performing masculinity. You're putting on the costume of what you think a man should be on a date, but you're not actually showing up as your real self. Women can sense that inauthenticity." She talks about core wounds and masculine conditioning and emotional availability. She says, "My college relationship probably ended because I never showed my real self." I mentioned that it actually ended because she moved across the country for grad school, but Melissa does this thing where she nods slowly like I'm proving her point. "That's the surface reason," she says, "but on a deeper level, the relationship probably ran its course because you weren't creating the emotional intimacy she needed." I don't know if that's true, but I'm desperate enough to consider it. She assigns homework. I need to start a vulnerability journal where I write about my feelings every day. She gives me specific phrases to practice. "I'm feeling nervous being this honest. I notice I'm afraid of rejection right now. I'm feeling vulnerable sharing this. Modern dating requires emotional courage," she says as I'm leaving. "Women are looking for men who have done the work." The session is $180. I book weekly appointments. I commit fully to Melissa's program. Vulnerability journal every morning, practicing the phrases in my bathroom mirror like an absolute psychopath. I'm noticing I'm feeling nervous right now. I'm afraid of being rejected. I feel ridiculous, but I paid $180 and I'm going to take this seriously. My next date is with a woman named Ashley from Hinge. Before Melissa, here's what I would have done. Picked a place, showed up confident, made conversation, probably suggested drinks after if it went well. Simple. But I'm thinking about Melissa's advice the whole time I'm getting ready. Don't perform masculinity. Show your authentic self. Vulnerability is strength. We meet at this modern art museum downtown. Ashley's cute graphic designer, easy to talk to initially. We're walking through the exhibits and it's going fine, normal conversation. Then we stop in front of some abstract installation, like a bunch of mirrors at weird angles. This is where old me would have made a joke or just kept the conversation moving. But I'm thinking about Melissa's technique. Share your emotional state in real time. It creates intimacy. I notice I'm really nervous right now, I say, trying to sound authentic like Melissa coached me. Ashley stops mid-sentence and looks at me. Oh, that's okay? She sounds confused, maybe concerned, like I just told her I'm feeling dizzy or something. Yeah, I just wanted to be honest about how I'm feeling. I continue, doubling down because Melissa said women appreciate this. I'm working on being more vulnerable. That's good? Ashley's face is doing this thing where she's trying to be supportive but clearly doesn't know what I want from her. Do you need to sit down, or? The energy shifts immediately. It's like I popped a balloon. We finish walking through the museum, but the conversation never recovers that easy flow from earlier. She's asking questions, but it feels more like she's checking if I'm okay, rather than being interested. When we leave, I don't suggest getting drinks. Neither does she. We hug goodbye, and she says, text me, but in that way where you know she doesn't mean it. 2 days later, hey, I think you're great, but I see you more as a friend. You seem like you're going through some stuff, and I'm not really in a place to take on that kind of emotional weight right now. Session with Melissa. She wasn't ready for that level of emotional honesty. You dodged a bullet. You want someone who can hold space for vulnerability. But the date was going well until you showed her your authentic self and she couldn't handle it. That's not your fault. That's her own work she needs to do. I want to argue, but I don't. She's the expert. 2 weeks later, I match with Claire. Lawyer, 28, seems sharp from her profile. We grab coffee at this place on South Congress. Before Melissa, I would have kept it light and fun. Built attraction through banter. But I'm thinking about my sessions. Melissa specifically said my problem is surface-level connection. She said I need to share my core wound to create real intimacy. We're talking about work. Claire's telling some story about a difficult client. Then she asks what made me move to Austin. Old me would have said job opportunity and moved on. But I'm thinking about Melissa's assignment. Honestly, I say, and I can hear Melissa's voice telling me this is brave. I've been feeling kind of inadequate since high school, like I'm always trying to prove I'm good enough, but never quite getting there. Moving here was partially about starting fresh, you know? Trying to be the person I actually want to be instead of who I think people expect. I look up at Claire. She's frozen with her coffee cup halfway to her mouth. She's trying to find words. That's really honest. Yeah, I'm working on being more vulnerable. I'm actually in therapy for it. Her face does this thing where she's clearly trying to look sympathetic, but is also completely uncomfortable. That's a lot for a first date. I mean, it's good you're self-aware, but I'm actually not looking for anything serious right now. She makes an excuse about an afternoon meeting. We've been there 25 minutes. She ghosts after that. Melissa's response. She's operating from a scarcity mindset. Real connection requires depth. She's probably avoidantly attached, and your vulnerability triggered her fear of intimacy. I meet my boys Daniel and Daryl at our regular bar on 6th Street that Friday. Daniel got married last year, works in sales, generally has his shit together. Daryl's the opposite. Serial dater, never had a relationship longer than 3 months, but he's never struggled to meet women. How's the therapy going? Daniel asks. I don't know, man. I'm doing everything she says and it's not working. Daryl nearly spits his beer. You're still seeing her? Dude, how much have you spent? Like, 4 sessions. Over 700. Jesus Christ, what is she having you do? I explained the vulnerability techniques, the sharing my core wound, the showing up authentically. Wait, Daryl holds up his hand. You told a first date about feeling inadequate since high school? Melissa said, Bro. Daryl's looking at me like I'm insane. You basically told her you have low self-esteem and need therapy to function on a first date. It's about emotional honesty. Women want vulnerability. They want confidence, Daryl says. They say they want vulnerability in a long-term relationship with a guy they already trust. Not from a stranger at a coffee shop? Daniel's nodding. Look, I'm not saying therapy is bad, but 2 for 2 on this approach not working? Maybe something's off. She has a master's from Columbia, 180,000 followers, actual credentials. I can hear how defensive I sound. Yeah? Daryl pulls out his phone, starts scrolling. Lot of followers, but I'm not seeing much about her own success stories, just a lot of theory. I probably just need to internalize it more, I hear myself say. Give it more time. They exchange a look. All right, Daniel says carefully. You do you, but maybe track the results? Fine, Daryl leans back. Keep trying her way, but if it keeps not working, maybe consider that the expert might not know what she's talking about. I leave feeling defensive, but also a seed of doubt has been planted. 2 more dates over the next 3 weeks. Date with Beth at a nice Italian place. I'm so focused on not performing confidence that I'm asking permission for everything. Would it be okay if I texted you this week? Do you feel comfortable with wine, or would you prefer something else? Is this restaurant okay, or should we go somewhere else? She's giving me weird looks the whole time. At the end, you're really sweet, but I didn't feel that romantic spark. You seem unsure of yourself. Next one is drinks with a woman named Jen. This one actually goes great for most of it. 2 hours, she's laughing, touching my arm, asking me questions. Real energy there. We walk to her car and I'm thinking, this is it. Then I use Melissa's closing technique. I've really enjoyed tonight. I'm noticing I'm feeling nervous saying this, but I'd love to see you again. Jen's smile falters. You're really sweet, she says. My stomach drops. But I think we're better as friends? You're a great guy, just not sure we have that chemistry. I sit in my car for 10 minutes after she drives off. 4 dates, 4 failures, all using Melissa's exact techniques. Daniel and Daryl stage a full intervention the next Friday. I walk into Daryl's place, and his laptop is already open on the coffee table. Sit down, Daniel says. We're doing this. Guys, I don't need... Shut up and sit. Daryl turns the laptop toward me. We did research, real research. They've got spreadsheets, timeline analysis, screenshots organized by date. Daryl starts clicking through Dr. Melissa Harper's Instagram, going backwards chronologically. Current posts, he says. All theory. Men need to do the work. Emotional availability is the future. Look, 0 personal content. Just advice and client testimonials that are super vague. He scrolls back. 6 months ago. Tones shifting. Where are the emotionally available men? Modern dating is exhausting. Starting to sound bitter. Further back. 1 year ago. Post about choosing to be single and focusing on my healing journey. 2 years ago. Look at this caption. He points. Says, my partner and I went to this amazing restaurant, but there's no photo of the partner. No tag, no name, nothing. 3 years ago, still confident advice, but even then, no actual evidence of a relationship. Daniel's been cross-referencing everything. Found a podcast interview from 8 months ago. Listen. He plays a clip. Melissa's voice comes through the laptop speaker. I've been consciously single for a few years now, really focusing on my own growth and healing before bringing someone into my life. Daryl pauses it. A few years. She's been single the entire time she's been charging you $180 an hour to fix your dating life. Daniel pulls up her LinkedIn. Professional page. Lots about her credentials, her practice, her courses. Zero mention of being in a relationship. Ever. He pulls up another tab. I found her Twitter from 2019. She was giving dating advice even then. Look at the replies. Bunch of dudes saying the same shit you're experiencing. Tried your advice. Got friend-zoned. Did everything you said. Still single. She responds to none of them. Bro. Daryl looks me dead in the eye. She's a mechanic who's never driven a car. She's teaching you her theory about why she can't date. And you're paying her to make you as unsuccessful as she is. I feel something crack in my chest. I pull up my banking app. $720 in therapy so far. I scroll through my texts. 4 first dates. 4 rejections. All using her exact techniques. But she has credentials, I hear myself say weakly. Credentials in theory, Daniel says, not in practice. Would you hire a business consultant who's never run a successful business? Would you take fitness advice from someone who's never been in shape? Daryl adds. I sit with this. Every piece of advice she gave, every technique that failed, every time she explained away rejection, the woman wasn't evolved enough, had internalized patriarchy, wasn't ready for emotional depth. Never once did she consider her framework might be wrong. I think about her Instagram posts, the trajectory from confident to bitter, the complete absence of any evidence she's successfully dated anyone. She's projecting, I say quietly. Her own failures. She built a whole career rationalizing why she's single and convinced herself it's everyone else's problem. Finally, Daryl says. Now what are you going to do about it? Daryl proposes the experiment. Next date, do the exact opposite of everything Melissa told you. Be direct. Be confident without apologizing for it. Don't narrate your emotional state every 5 minutes. Just be normal. I still have 2 sessions left, I say. Already paid for the month. Perfect, Daniel says. Keep going to the sessions. Don't tell her what you're doing. Let's see what happens. I match with Emma on Hinge 3 days later. She's 27, graphic designer, seems normal. I text her directly. There's a coffee place on 6th that's solid. Saturday at 3. Not, would you maybe want to possibly meet? Just a statement. She responds, sounds good. The date itself feels weird because it feels normal. I'm not monitoring my vulnerability levels. I'm not using therapy phrases. I make decisions without asking permission for everything. When she mentions she likes Italian food, I say, cool, I know a place. Let's go Thursday. Not a question. A plan. She says yes. Second date happens. I'm just myself. Making jokes, slight teasing when appropriate, confident. Not performing anything. At the end, I kiss her. Don't ask permission. Just read the moment and go for it. She kisses back. Third date happens. We're actually dating now. I continue my sessions with Melissa, but don't mention any of this. I keep it vague. Working on the techniques. Processing the patterns. I'm more curious now about her than anything else. I start asking her questions about her own approach. She talks a lot about theory, references studies, mentions clients she's helped, but never with specifics. Do you date? I ask during one session. She looks surprised. My personal life isn't relevant to our therapeutic relationship. Just curious about your perspective, I say. I'm consciously single, she says, focusing on my practice and my own growth. Week 6 of dating Emma. It's going well. Easy. We laugh a lot. She likes that I plan dates. She likes that I'm confident. The spark everyone talks about, it's there. I casually mention it in my session with Melissa. So I'm seeing someone, about 6 weeks now. Her face does something I've never seen before. This micro-expression. Shock, maybe sadness. Then she recovers into professional mode. But I saw it. That's wonderful, she says, voice slightly strained. Tell me about her. I describe Emma. Normal stuff. Her job, her interests. Melissa's getting this look. And how does she respond to your vulnerability? Have you shared your core wound with her? Not really, we just hang out. It's easy. Easy can be avoidance, Melissa says, and there's an edge in her voice now. Sometimes we're attracted to people who don't challenge us to grow. I push back for the first time. But isn't that good? Someone I actually enjoy being around? Enjoy, yes, but growth requires... She pauses. What does she do in her free time? I mention Emma likes yoga, baking, actually enjoys when I pick restaurants instead of asking her to decide. Traditional stuff? Melissa's expression tightens. Just be careful of falling into patriarchal relationship patterns. Sometimes women perform traditional femininity because that's what they think men want, not who they actually are. And I see it clearly now. She's analyzing my success through the same lens that created my failure. She can't accept that her framework is wrong, so she has to reframe my working relationship as secretly problematic. I tell Daniel and Daryl at the bar later. Dude, Daryl says, she's mad that her advice didn't work. She's literally trying to convince you that your success is actually failure. Daniel's shaking his head. That's textbook cognitive dissonance. Her worldview can't handle contradictory evidence. I book one final session. I'm prepared. I've written down every technique she recommended and what happened. Melissa, I want to understand something, I say. I followed your advice exactly for 2 months. 9 first dates, 0 second dates. Then I stopped following your advice. Met someone immediately. We've been together 2 months now. Why do you think that is? She tries the professional route. Sometimes we need to process through, or your advice doesn't work. Silence. I paid you $1,800 to teach me dating, but you've been single for 3 years. Why are you qualified to teach me something you can't do yourself? Her face cycles through emotions, shock, anger, then defensiveness. My relationship status has nothing to do with my professional expertise. I have a master's degree. I've studied theory. You've studied theory. But every time your advice failed, you said the woman wasn't evolved enough. Never that the approach was wrong. She's getting emotional now. You don't understand how hard it is out there. Men say they want vulnerability, but they don't actually... You don't understand the impossible position women like me are in, she continues, and she's fully dropped the therapist voice now. We're told to be vulnerable, but not too vulnerable. Confident, but not threatening. We're supposed to be accomplished, but still make men feel needed. I've done everything right. Have you? I cut her off. Or have you done what you theorized was right, and then blamed everyone else when it didn't work? She's crying now. Real tears. I have a master's from Columbia. I've published papers. I know what healthy relationships look like. On paper. You know what they look like on paper. So what? You think I'm a fraud? I've helped people. Who? Name one client who's in a successful relationship because of your advice. The silence is deafening. Then it clicks. You don't track outcomes, do you? You just collect payment and assume it works eventually. Her face tells me everything. How many men have you seen? Total? That's confidential. How many success stories do you post on Instagram? Nothing. She posts theory, client breakthroughs, never actual relationships. You built a business on advice that doesn't work, then you insulated yourself from results by blaming the clients or the women they date. You're not a therapist. You're selling a conspiracy theory where you're always right and the world is always wrong. She stops. Realizes what she just revealed? I see it completely now. She's not a therapist who happens to be single. She's a single woman who built a career rationalizing her own dating failures into a political framework, then charged lonely men to learn that framework. She asked me to leave. I think we're done here, I say, standing up. I hope you figure it out. 2 months later, still with Emma. It's not perfect, but it's real. She doesn't need me to announce my emotional state constantly. She likes that I'm confident and decisive. Daniel sends me a screenshot one night. Dr. Melissa Harper's Instagram, new post. Maybe the problem isn't men or women. Maybe modern dating is just broken. The comments are full of her followers agreeing. She's shifted her message but still hasn't looked inward. I show Emma. Who's this? Someone who taught me what not to do. I almost text Rachel to warn her friend Becca, but I don't. Some people need to figure it out themselves. I don't hate Melissa. She genuinely believed her framework. That's the sad part. She built a career on advice that doesn't work, surrounded herself with theory instead of results, convinced herself that her failures were society's fault. She probably still believes it.